Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in a game between KawaiiRice versus Puma here on Terminus Raid. This is in fact KawaiiRice, even though it says WTF. Yeah, it really is KawaiiRice. Anyways, KawaiiRice spawning as the yellow Terran player at the 6 o'clock position. Meanwhile, Puma spawning as the blue Terran at the 3 o'clock position. A Terran versus Terran mirror match. One of my most difficult matchups just because I don't understand the balance nearly that well. You would normally think that, hey, if you play up a mirror match and you lose, watch the replay because, you know, see what they did. Anyways, we're going to see how these top level players are going to be playing Terran versus Terran. As a supply depot being built a little bit further away, not quite sure the reasoning behind this. Perhaps to be able to gain sight, that's the only reason that I can think of. Normally the supply depots are built rather close like this by Puma, which allows him to be able to return to mining rather quickly. But we'll see what will happen in the long-term portion of this game, as we are now supply blocked for a little bit of time. Both players should be getting up a racks in just a moment. And with two, and now with one racks down and another racks down, or two barracks is now down, we should be able to see what strategies these players will be utilizing. I don't see any early gas from any of these players. It's going to be the standard 13 gas coming in from both Kawaii and Puma, so pretty much exact mirror builds so far in this game. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. You can see that the barracks over here was going to complete. Both players will be upgrading to that orbital command. And now we really need to see what that all-important next building will be. Is it going to be a factory, or is it going to be perhaps another barracks, or even a command center? An early command center does make sense on Terminus. As we can see, there's the upgrade to the orbital command. There's the training of the Marine, as both players now send out some SCVs in order to do some scouting. So scouting now coming into play. Both players have to be careful with their scouting SCVs, as they will be having or forced to deal with a supply depot in just a moment. And oh, this version of Terminus does in fact have this vented area over here that you really have to be careful excuse me, careful about. But there are no destructible rocks leading into the natural expansion area. We can see a Marine now down here on the low ground Marine getting some damage onto that SCV. The SCV now being forced to pull back there. And we'll see what happens in the long term. We are getting a Reaper now, so a Reaper coming out from Puma, which most likely does indicate a Reaper expansion attempt. Meanwhile, we are now going into a factory with a second geyser coming in from KawaiiRice, so most likely we will be seeing some Banshees. Banshees are a very, very strong opening against another Terran player, just because, you know, if your opponent doesn't have that cloak, a lot of damage can be done. There's that command center that I was talking about, and we'll see if Puma does go for that engineering bay. He will be running off of one base for a little, or one base for a little bit of time. That second base will come up and be operational, but he will be behind for just a little bit, just because he is not going up and further up that tech tree. We are getting a factory though and adding on a tech lab, but we are not getting up a starport, so I may have jumped the gun on the conclusion of the Banshee. It looks like instead it's just going to be Marine tank, as there is only one SCV on this geyser down over here. Now, the factory should be training up a siege tank in just a moment. No, going for Hellions and Blue Flame Research. Alright, so I have absolutely no idea what these players will be doing, as a Reaper now tries to run up that ramp. Is the Reaper going to come up that ramp there? No, not going to come up the ramp. He's looking to see if there's an expansion, and he is not going to spot one. So, no expansion down here. And now just going to continue to wander around. A Hellion is going to perhaps go and meet up with that one Reaper, as the Rich Vespian Geyser is on this map here. So that one Hellion now... Alright, sorry, someone called and apparently isn't leaving a message. And I just had to hang up on them. Alright, so anyways, yeah, just really weird course of events today. We are going into that starport now, and it looks like it is going to be a Blue Flame Hellion drop into the main base now. We can see that a command center is up and running here. We are going to get a bunker and then another supply depot. We are training up Marauders, which are going to be absolutely instrumental in trying to shut down what may be a very effective drop. Hellions are now making their way over as well, and we'll see what's going to be happening. What you may have here is you may have that cover fire strategy that is normally used against a lot of Zerg players, where the Marines are just lifted off into this direction, Hellions are on the low ground, and then the Hellions do come in from behind. There are a lot of Marines here, 8 Marines, and now more Marines still being added, as it looks like we are going to be adding a Raven now to the group. So a Raven now being added. So we'll see what that Raven's going to be used for. The Marines and those Hellions looking to deal some damage. I'm not quite sure how much damage they're going to be able to do. And as long as KawaiiRice is smart about this, he may be able to get some damage here, but that bunker may be able to fend off a lot of attacks. There's already Marines and Marauders there, so very nice head fake, showing the medevac, and then not even going for that drop. Oh, there's only one Marine in that bunker. He doesn't know it. He can't tell by the sound, and now instead going to be going for that drop. You can see the Marauders are over here. The Marines are over here as well. Now firing back. Both sides getting in a lot of damage. That Blue Flame research getting in some damage onto a couple poor Marines, but really not executing this strategy very well at all. So not executing that strategy. You can see now KawaiiRice will be forced to pull back. We are getting up a Raven, so a Banshee now. The Raven is already in play, as we are now going into double factory, double Hellions perhaps. This is a rather unusual build. I haven't seen it executed in practice, so I cannot really guesstimate what will be happening next. We are going to have an expansion now set up down here at the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock expansion location by KawaiiRice. As you can see, the Hellions were looking to get a little bit more damage onto some of those SCVs. You can see a lot of Marines were taken down, but no real worker damage at all. 34 workers to 34 at this stage in the game. Taking a look at the overall losses, only 150 resource loss between the two, as a new batch of Hellions ready to go, and now perhaps just torch things even further. We are now also going to be going into perhaps Banshees. No, we are going to be going into Medevacs or Vikings, as we are now doing a reactor swap, double Medevacs now, as the Hellions will be dropping down in just a moment, but the Marauders are already there, ready to intercept, and it doesn't look like KawaiiRice will be getting much more mileage out of any of this Hellion play. Now, by the looks of this build, it looks as though KawaiiRice really going into heavy mech play. You can see 2 or 3 factories already up, one with the reactor. There is one Raven as well. The only problem is whether or not he's going to come in with any air units. Vikings and or Banshees may deal a lot of damage, as another Banshee joining in on that fight. No real anti-air coming in from KawaiiRice just quite yet, but I don't believe we will see any. Yeah, you can see that the starport is only creating Vikings and Medevacs so far at this point in the game. Harvester count 44 to 41, but there are 5 mules in play for Puma, so Puma a definite advantage in the economic sense of the game, as both players are now currently supply blocked 94 over 94 compared to 78 over 78. So KawaiiRice does have the advantage. They're finally getting into 95 over 102, trying to train up even more units. You can see the siege tanks and the Hellions still being added, as it looks like we may be going for a drop, but there is also some Vikings looking to perhaps do a bit of patrolling and shut down this one medevac. This may be a very bad day for a medevac pilot, and it looks like it will be the Vikings. Are they going to spot it? Yes, they are going to spot it. And now, KawaiiRice quickly dropping those Hellions, and now trying to make their way off over here. The SCVs already getting the memo to leave. It doesn't look like that many SCVs will get destroyed. Actually, a couple of them were destroyed. Another more destroyed there. And now finally backing off. All of those Hellions destroyed. I believe some more SCVs were killed. 12 worker kills, as the harvester count goes from 43 to 39. And now in comes the Marauders. Marauders doing a bit of a counter push on both bases at once. Hellions trying to meet and greet all of these Marines and doing a good job there. And it looks like Puma will be able to retreat with that one medevac. The overall worker count now 45 compared to 42, as both sides took a bit of damage there. A medevac with 2 Marines able to patrol away, and now once again will be pushing back in. There is a siege tank and a lot of Hellions here. So I don't believe that these two Marines will be able to deal any more serious damage. Puma about to complete this one command center here. Meanwhile, we are going to have another command center completed by KawaiiRice over here at the low ground expansion. There are 7 mineral patches, I believe. Yeah, 7 mineral patches and a rich Vespene geyser. So that is almost a full expansion there. As the Viking does not see this medevac just beyond sight range. You can see it just in the edge of the cloud, as we are now going to see KawaiiRice finally move out. We can also see that KawaiiRice doesn't have cloak, so that's going to be a very interesting tactic, as now the Banshee is going to come in and be able to turn around, get some damage onto those units. Stim packs may be used once more. Vikings are going to be pushing in just a moment. No anti-air, so those Banshees are going to get taken down. The Marines are finally pushing in, and it looks like, the Banshees, why were they engaging? No real reason to. And the siege tanks, as the Raven needs to drop a point defense drone, both to intercept the Marauders and that Viking damage. Marines are going to be very, very careful here. The Marines going to get some more damage on, finally getting some damage onto those Vikings there, and now finally pulling back. Not quite sure. KawaiiRice really spreading out too far, not getting enough damage, and now in comes those Banshees finally. But this is a really poor execution. Really, really poor execution by Kawaii. It almost felt like he really wasn't completely there. I've seen KawaiiRice execute that push a little bit better, have those siege tanks in the proper position. He overextended with those tanks, and now Puma evening up the food count, 129 compared to 121. Level 2 weapons upgrade, siege tank finally underway. We need to get some more medevacs. All of these Marauders are, or many of them are, in the red there, as the Hellions are being forced to once again pull away. They do not want to try to engage. There is this one Hellion currently on patrol, looking to make sure that there are no additional expansions in play at all, as another medevac now coming in and going to be doing a drop into this third base once more. Marines dropping down, getting some damage, stimming, slowly making their way over, but going to get absolutely torched by just a large army of Hellions. And Hellions have really become a much more staple unit in the Terran versus Terran mirror match. Those Hellions move around very quickly, able to defend expansions from Marine pressure, as this command center is about to be completed. It may lift off and then come into here in just a moment. Still a large group of Marauders. The Marauders are upgraded 1-1, soon to be 2-2. Puma looking to get a large number of units. Meanwhile, we just have a large number of siege tanks and Hellions, so it is going to be Terran bio play versus Terran mech play, as the Vikings once again going to come in. Are they going to land? No, they are not going to land. A Marauder and 4 Marines going to be dropping in over here, getting some more damage onto these SCVs. Meanwhile, it looks like some Vikings are going to be battling out over here. The Raven doesn't have that much. Hellions taking down a siege tank. That's not something you see every day, as the Marauders and the Marines are going to perhaps finish off that engineering bay. The siege tanks are now going to start slowly making their way forward and slowly starting to push. There is a point defense drone in the air, and now getting some damage, and down goes this one bunker. The bunker is easily destroyed. Siege tanks now blasting away. This is what KawaiiRice wanted to do moments ago. Now finally pushing in up on that high ground. That siege tank now destroyed, as that point defense drone is getting taken down as well. Both sides just absolutely shelling damage against each other. All of those SCVs destroyed as well, and now siege tanks destroyed, just laying waste to the low ground. It looks like the Hellions are going to be able to perhaps finish off. No, not going to be able to finish this off. And now the numbers are not looking in favor of KawaiiRice at all. The Harvester count 51 compared to 47 now, and once again trying to re-engage. The Vikings now landing just as the siege tanks unsieged, and Puma able to turn the tables once again. 109 to 97. Vikings now jumping into the air, as I believe this medevac will finally see its days come to a close. Unit count, you can see pretty even in terms of Harvester army, though. KawaiiRice is very far behind. 3 siege tanks being built compared to the mass Marauders, and this is one of the difficult things about a Terran tech army. That Terran tech army is so much more difficult to try to replenish, as you can now see Puma coming in for what is going to be a very effective drop into the main production line here. Marines and Marauders quickly coming in here. You can now see all the siege tanks perhaps over-responding. There are going to be 2 siege tanks here and another siege tank here. The Marauders may try to push in, and now gonna get shelled a bit, and Puma not ready for the sheer number at all, and now deciding to back off with that medevac. It looks like this drop was cleared. The tech lab was destroyed, but really nicely done. I was concerned that KawaiiRice would have over-responded and brought back too many of his siege tanks. He did not do that, but really the weapons upgrades are really going to start to take a toll. 2-2 upgrades on those Marauders, and against 0-0 upgrades, soon to be 3-2 upgrades as well. The siege tanks are going to start sieging, and now the mass Marauder army, as long as there are more Marauders and perhaps some other units to deal some damage, that medevac going to take a lot of damage there, and it looks like, yeah, that medevac is destroyed. The Marines now quickly trying to chase back over, but they do not want to get too close to that Zelnaga tower. SCV is now being transferred by Puma establishing up that all-important base, as his main base is now nearly mined out. Mule should be called in over here as well. There are Marines over here, no missile turrets at all, as we are pretty even in the game at this stage. Level 3 weapons upgrade, we are now also going into Thors. I don't agree with KawaiiRice with the Thors. The Thors are not going to be that successful at all. They're going to get easily destroyed by mass Marauders, as Marauders quickly just getting shelled once more. A lot of damage being taken. The Marauder with that 2 armor able to survive and live and fight another day. As a drop now coming in over here, the SCVs are engaging. Siege tanks are coming down the line to finish out the rest of the Marauders. SCVs could perhaps shut down another Marauder over there, as another Marauder getting taken down, but still some decent trading on both sides. And now KawaiiRice is behind in the total losses column. Taking a look at the army count, he is also behind in terms of mineral, but not behind in terms of gas. Siege tanks need to siege, otherwise there's going to be a very, very bad day. The Marauders could perhaps stim, and oh yeah, those siege tanks are going to have a very, very difficult time. Vikings are now in the air. Both sides should be engaging in just a moment. Oh, one poor Viking not going to be able to stick around for very long. Another Viking taken down, and it looks like there will only be one Viking standing between the two, as they are just there to exchange blows. Now, 6 more Marine siege tanks once again blasting apart some of those Marauders over there. The Marauders being very, very careful and perhaps trying to walk around the very, very far side. I believe a scanner sweep would be enough, and this is going to be a push in from the far side. There are a couple of Thors as well. The Vikings now shooting down the last of those medevacs, and a couple of the Marauders now pulling back once more. So that was not a good engagement for Puma at all, but another drop happening over here. Siege tanks up on the high ground, perhaps going to finish off and finish down the rest of these Marauders here. It looks like the Marauders going to be able to drop into this location. The Thors have been destroyed. These siege tanks are not sieged, and KawaiiRice is going to be in a bit of trouble. His army is now smaller, smaller as well. The Marauders and the Marines may be able to finish off these siege tanks, as they are not in siege mode, and just multiple drops coming in from Puma, dealing in so much damage here. And I believe Puma will be taking the game in just a moment. Medevacs now actually being forced to pull away, but the Harvester count 48 compared to 59. The Marines and Marauders are once again counter-pushing. There are a couple of siege tanks here. The siege tanks going to be able to finish off any more of these siege tanks. A quick scanner sweep, and there's the GG by Kawaii. So Kawaii losing game 1 in the series to Puma. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.